Have you ever had someone in your life suddenly disappear? No warning, no messages, no explanations. Not just fading from your social media, but cutting off everyone completely. Most people think it's about them, but the truth is far deeper. Some people retreat to protect their emotions, regain control, or even heal themselves in ways we don't understand. Today, we're diving into the hidden psychology behind why some people shut everyone out, the silent signals they show before withdrawing, and what this behavior really means. By the end of this video, you'll understand their mindset, spot the warning signs, and gain insight into human behavior you've never noticed before. Stay with me, because what you learn might change how you see people forever. Number 1. They feel emotionally overwhelmed. Some people don't cut everyone off because they hate others. They do it because their internal world becomes too heavy to carry. One of the most misunderstood reasons people cut everyone off is emotional overwhelm. From the outside, it looks like they suddenly changed. But inside, something has been building for a long time. Imagine someone who is constantly thinking, constantly worrying, constantly replaying conversations in their head. Every message feels like pressure. Every interaction feels like something they have to get right. At first, they try to keep up. They reply. They show up. They smile, but slowly, it starts to drain them. You might notice small signs. They take longer to respond. They cancel plans more often. They seem distant, even when they're physically present. But here's the truth. It's not that they don't care. It's that they're overwhelmed. And when emotional pressure builds up for too long, the brain looks for one thing: relief. For some people, that relief comes in a drastic form: silence. They start by pulling back slightly, ignoring a few messages, avoiding calls. Then one day, they disappear completely. Not because they want to hurt anyone, but because it feels like the only way to breathe again. It's like being underwater for too long. Cutting everyone off becomes that moment they finally come up for air. And if you've ever experienced this from someone, it can feel confusing, even painful. But what you didn't see was the silent battle they were fighting long before they walked away. And this is just the beginning, because emotional overwhelm is only one piece of the puzzle. There are deeper reasons most people never talk about. Number 2. They struggle with trust. Some people don't just withdraw. They disconnect because trusting people feels dangerous. Another powerful reason some people cut everyone off is something you can't always see: trust issues. Not the kind people talk about casually, but the kind built from real experiences. Betrayal, disappointment, broken promises. At some point in their life, someone they trusted deeply let them down. And when that happens enough times, something changes. They stop seeing people as safe. Now imagine this. Every time someone gets close to them, their mind doesn't think connection. It thinks risk. Single quotes, that they start questioning everything. What if they leave? What if they lie? What if I open up and regret it? So instead of waiting to be hurt again, they make a decision. They leave first. They cut people off before those people have the chance to disappoint them. From the outside, it looks cold, maybe even selfish. But from the inside, it feels like protection. You might notice subtle signs before they disappear. They hesitate to open up. They keep conversations surface level. They avoid deep emotional connection. And when things start getting too close, too real, they pull away. Not because they don't feel anything, but because they feel too much and they don't trust what comes next. So they choose distance, because distance feels safer than betrayal. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because not everyone who walks away is running from pain. Some are actually searching for something most people never understand. Number 3. They value solitude for self-discovery. Not everyone who disappears is broken. Some people step away to find themselves. But here's where most people get it wrong. Not everyone who cuts people off is running away. Some are actually walking toward themselves. In a world full of noise, expectations, and constant interaction, it's easy to lose who you really are. You're always responding, always adjusting, always being who others expect you to be. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop hearing your own voice. For some people, this becomes overwhelming. They start to feel disconnected not from others, but from themselves. So they make a decision that looks extreme from the outside. They step away from everyone. Not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of a deep need to reconnect. You might notice subtle signs before they disappear. They start spending more time alone. They become quieter, more reflective. They begin questioning things: life, purpose, relationships. Conversations that once excited them start to feel empty. And eventually, they realize something important. They can't keep pouring into others if they feel empty inside. So they choose solitude, not loneliness, but intentional isolation. Time to think, time to understand themselves, time to rebuild from within. And while it may look like they've abandoned everyone, in reality, they're trying to find the version of themselves they lost along the way. But not all isolation leads to peace. Because for some people, cutting everyone off is not about finding themselves. It's about protecting what's left of them. Number 4. They are protecting their mental health. Sometimes, cutting people off isn't rejection. It's self-preservation. Sometimes, disappearing isn't about other people at all. It's about survival. Because not every environment is healthy, and not every relationship is safe. There are moments in life when someone starts to feel mentally drained, constantly tired, emotionally exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they've been carrying too much for too long. Imagine waking up every day feeling overwhelmed. Conversations feel like pressure. Expectations feel heavy. Even simple interactions start to feel like too much. At first, they try to push through it. They keep showing up, keep responding, keep pretending they're okay. But inside, they're slowly burning out. And then something shifts. They realize, if I don't protect my peace, no one else will. That's when they start creating distance. They stop answering calls. They avoid certain people. They withdraw from environments that once felt normal. And eventually, they cut everyone off. Not out of hate, not out of anger, but out of necessity. Because for them, staying connected feels more damaging than being alone. You might see it as them disappearing. But for them, it's the first time they've finally chosen themselves. And sometimes, that choice is the only thing keeping them together. But here's something most people don't realize. Sometimes it's not about protection or healing. Sometimes it's about fear of being truly seen. Number 5. They fear being vulnerable. Some people don't cut others off because they feel nothing. They do it because being seen emotionally feels too risky. There's a side to this that most people never talk about. Some people don't disappear because they're cold. They disappear because they're scared of being vulnerable. Because vulnerability means being seen, truly seen. Your thoughts, your fears, your insecurities. And for some people, that feels dangerous. Maybe at some point in their life, they opened up to someone. They trusted. They shared. They let their guard down. And instead of being understood, they were judged, or ignored, or worse, hurt. That kind of experience doesn't just go away. It stays, quietly shaping how they connect with people. So the next time someone tries to get close, they hesitate, they hold back, they keep conversations light, safe, controlled. But deep down, they feel something else. A constant tension between wanting connection and fearing what it might cost. Because opening up means risk. And for them, that risk feels too high. So instead of slowly breaking down their walls, they take a shortcut. They cut everyone off. No expectations. No emotional exposure. No chance of being hurt again. From the outside, it looks like distance. But on the inside, it's protection. Protection from being misunderstood. From being judged. From being hurt in ways they're not ready to experience again. But sometimes, it's not just fear or protection. Sometimes the people around them are the real reason they choose to walk away completely. Number 6. They react to toxic relationships. Sometimes people don't just leave one person. They leave everyone because they're exhausted from toxicity. Sometimes, cutting everyone off isn't an overreaction. It's a response. A response to something that's been slowly draining them. Something toxic. Because not all relationships are healthy. Some are filled with constant criticism, emotional pressure, subtle manipulation, or people who only show up when they need something. At first, they try to handle it. They stay, they adjust, they tolerate more than they should. They tell themselves things like, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I just need to be patient. But over time, it starts to affect them. Their energy drops. Their mood changes. They feel drained after every interaction. And the hardest part. Sometimes, they don't even realize how toxic it is until they step back. Because when you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it starts to feel normal, until one day they hit a breaking point. And instead of trying to fix everything, they choose distance. Not just from one person, but from everyone connected to that environment. Because to them, staying feels heavier than leaving. So they walk away, quietly, completely, and for the first time in a long time, they feel a sense of relief. Not because they stopped caring, but because they finally stopped tolerating what was hurting them. But here's the part most people don't expect. Sometimes cutting everyone off isn't about escape, it's about control. Number 7. They need control over their environment. When life feels unpredictable, some people regain control by removing everything they can't control, including people. Here's something most people don't realize. For some people, cutting everyone off isn't just emotional. It's psychological. It's about control. Because when life starts to feel unstable, unpredictable, overwhelming, the human mind looks for one thing: certainty, something it can control. And people are unpredictable. They change. They react. They disappoint. You can't fully control how someone treats you or how they show up in your life. And for someone who already feels overwhelmed or uncertain, that unpredictability becomes stressful. So they start doing something subtle. They reduce exposure. They limit interactions. They avoid situations they can't control. At first, it's small, skipping conversations, delaying replies, staying quiet. But over time, it becomes a pattern. Because every time they reduce contact, they feel something: relief. No unexpected reactions. No emotional surprises. No pressure to respond or explain. Everything becomes predictable, and that sense of control, it feels safe. So eventually, they take it further. They don't just limit people, they remove them completely, because those people are bad, but because controlling their environment feels easier than navigating it. And in that controlled silence, they finally feel stable again. But sometimes, it's not just about control or protection. Sometimes people disappear because they're going through something much deeper, something even they don't fully understand. Number 8. They may be experiencing identity or existential struggles. Sometimes people don't disappear because of others. They disappear because they're questioning who they are and what their life means. Sometimes, the reason someone disappears has nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with what's happening inside them. There are moments in life where everything starts to feel uncertain. Who you are, what you're doing, where your life is going. And in those moments, something shifts. Things that once felt important suddenly don't. Conversations feel empty. Connections feel distant. Even the people around you start to feel unfamiliar. It's not that you don't care. It's that you don't feel like yourself anymore. So, you begin to question everything. Who am I, really? Am I living the life I actually want? Or the one I've adapted to? Why do I feel so disconnected, even when I'm not alone? And when those questions get louder, the outside world starts to feel like noise. Because it's hard to connect with others when you're not even sure who you are. So some people do something drastic. They step away from everyone, not because they've given up, but because they're searching for clarity, for meaning, for a sense of identity that feels real. They need silence, not loneliness, but space. Space to think, space to feel, space to understand themselves without outside influence. And while it may look like they've disconnected from the world, in reality, they're trying to reconnect with something deeper, themselves. But here's something even more subtle. Sometimes people don't just use silence to find themselves. They use it to send a message. Number 9. They use silence as communication. Sometimes people don't explain. They express everything through silence. Here's something most people misunderstand. Silence is not always empty. Sometimes, it's the loudest message someone can send. Because not everyone communicates with words. For some people, explaining how they feel is difficult, uncomfortable, or even impossible. So instead of talking, they withdraw. And that silence, it carries meaning. Sometimes it means they're hurt. Sometimes it means they're overwhelmed. And sometimes it means they've reached a point where words no longer feel necessary. Think about it. When someone suddenly stops responding, stops showing up, stops engaging the way they used to, that change is a signal. But the problem is, most people ignore it. They wait for an explanation, a message, a reason, closure. But for the person who walked away, Their silence is the explanation. It might be saying, "I'm tired. I don't feel understood. I need space." Or even, "I'm done." And the reason they don't say it directly is because they either don't know how, or they believe their actions already said enough. So instead of explaining themselves, they disappear. Quietly, completely. And for them, that silence speaks louder than anything they could have said. And just when you think you understand why people disappear, there's one final reason that changes everything. Number 10. They may return, but on their own terms. Cutting everyone off isn't always permanent. Some people come back when they're ready and stronger. And finally, the most misunderstood part of cutting everyone off. It's not always forever. Some people leave, but they don't leave because they hate you. They leave because they need to heal, to protect, to rediscover. And when they've done that, they may come back, but it won't be the same as before. They come back on their own terms. They come back with boundaries, with clarity, with a stronger sense of who they are. And sometimes that return feels different. Not everyone is ready to accept it. Not everyone understands the silence, the absence, the pain. But for those who do, it can be a beautiful reunion because now they come with wisdom. They come with self-respect. And they come without the need to explain every single thing. So if you've ever been ghosted or cut off, or if you've done it yourself, know this. Sometimes walking away isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter for them, and sometimes even for you. And now, knowing all these reasons, what do you think drives people to cut everyone off? Could it be someone you know, or even yourself? Cutting people off isn't always simple. It's a complex mix of emotion, psychology, and self-preservation. Now, when you look back at all these reasons, overwhelm, trust, issues, self-discovery, mental health, fear of vulnerability, toxic relationships, control, identity struggles, silence as communication, and returning on their own terms, you begin to see a pattern. It's not always about anger, or hate, or selfishness. It's about survival, understanding, and growth. Every person who cuts everyone off has their own story, and while it may feel like rejection, it may actually be a call for respect, a call for patience, or a signal that boundaries need to be honored. So next time someone disappears, before judging, try to see the silence through their eyes. Because sometimes walking away isn't the end of a relationship. It's the beginning of understanding. And maybe, just maybe, it's a chance for both sides to grow. Have you ever had to cut people off? Or been cut off yourself? How did it feel? And what did you learn?